Hey, Skoggul back with my second video log. Last week, the updates are we got a lot farther on the website. We're working on our creative team, and we've got the database of that done. We don't have the actual imaging onto the website, but that's hopefully easier than the database part. So it looks like we're getting closer to having our website going where you can have a user profile that shows you accurately and then your team. And then from there we'll expand into our other ideas. We're getting a lot more videos up on the website. Right now I have one of my friends who's helped me with the website doing some very basic tutorials like farming, why it's important, why it can raise your score or make your win percentage better in normals if you don't play ranked. And that's kind of one avenue we're going down. The other avenue is I've got a few people who don't really play League of Legends very much. They're very new to it. And I'm going to take them and train them and then show the videos of me training them or show their improvement as they're progressing as we do lessons, talk about the lessons, talk about what I'm teaching them and why I'm teaching them, what I'm teaching them in what order to make them better players so that they can go into games and start doing well. And then other theories are some of the people who know me want me to show how I play top lane, because things I do different than other top laners is I love to go in, say, take Renekton, someone who can stomp a lane. I'll counterpick him if I have that ability to. I have a lot of champions on one of my accounts, so it's not too hard to counterpick. And what I do is I start winning my lane, and then I immediately place 3-4 wards all the time in their enemy jungle, so that our jungler, I try to tell them to control our jungle, and then I try to control their top quarter, the half on my side, so we can hopefully control 3/4 of the jungle. I get a lot of jungle kills, or even top laner kills if they try to take their red buff if I'm blue side, or I can kill the mid or the jungle if they try to take their blue, because I keep their buffs warded at all times that it's necessary. And I have a good timer on there. If I miss it, I have a ward on it, and I have a timer on their buff, so I'm there the next time ready to go. And the thing about making people respond in solo queue, or when you're just soloing in a normal, or whatever you want to call it, is if you ping it and say, hey, the timer's up, they're probably there, no one's going to go. Now, if you put a ward there, and you say, hey, look what they're doing, I'll go with you, and the jungler's like, great idea, the mid's like, great idea. Next thing you know, you have a 3v2 situation most of the time, because they're not coordinated enough to get their top laner out there, especially if he's getting stomped. I've also picked up solo kills on their jungler picking up the buff, or their mid picking up the buff, because they just don't expect you to sneak around, hide in the bush, and jump on them at the end of the buff. They just are not used to that. They're not used to you making these things. They're used to level 1 invasions and they protect, but they're not necessarily that good later, and people just don't work properly, so it's not that difficult to pull off. You can take all sorts of routes, and I also like to steal their jungle as much as possible. I know Dyrus does that. I know that Darien from M5 does that, but I love to do that in solo queue. They're just not as coordinated, and you get ahead, and then I try to even go take their big wraith as often as possible, and if I go down the wraith camp, I gank mid. If all I do is deal damage and then go back to my lane, my mid is now a little more ahead. They're a little more afraid that I could pop out and the jungler could pop out. It just does things like that. That's kind of a video series I should put together. Right now I'm working the AD carry and support, the bottom lane series. I plan on continuing that for another 5 or 10 videos, and then I might make a mid lane series and keep working on the laning phase part. And then we're going to advance to mid to end game, how to finish games, what not to do, how not to manage a lead, how to manage a lead, different things like that we can do. The other parts of videos is we've been thinking about a tier list, and it's different than other tier lists. I don't just want to have a list of champions and say, these are the tier 1 champions. I want to say, this is Sion. This is how Sion's... Because you can hear people will go out there and say, hey, just play Sion. You'll get 1600 elo. Then you try it and you get stomped. What I want to do is, instead of just saying a concept like Twisted Fate owns solo queue because of no coordination, they can't stop you from warping around the map, I want to go and get a lot of video and a lot of how-to video and explain out what happened, why did it work, what didn't work, how to take Sion and stomp, and then they say he's not that good at 1600 elo, but he's awesome until then. Well, how do you do it? So I just want to go in there and make Not necessarily the competitive tier, the pro players. They're switching every week anyways. It was Jax a month ago. It's now Malphite's the new flavor of the month on top. I've seen a lot of Orianna and Swain mids when they were considered unviable. So whenever you hear someone say from the current meta that a champion is unviable, it's not true, because Jax was unviable until he hit the scene. Kayle all of a sudden hit the scene. These were not tops that were played in top. It was basically, for a long time, it was Vladimir, Yorick, Irelia. And now it's sort of, you play Vladimir and Kennen still, but you play Irelia sometimes, Ion Spartan does, for instance. But you don't play, but now you can play Kayle, you can play Malphite, you can do different things. Dignitas even pulled out the Lulu, let's get Lulu top, and I think it was Soraka mid, let's just play a very supporting team and protect our AD carry. And you hear that AD carry wins games, and AD carry is the late game of why you win or lose. And that is true from very, very high competitive play. I do not believe it is as true in lower level play. And I don't mean to be rude, I'm just saying under 1600, I think the top lane bruiser is a bigger deal. So when you hear someone say, hey, you, as a jungler, you want to win in solo queue, go gank top as often as possible. There's two reasons. One, it creates a quick 2v1, and you can get a lot of kills. You can get fed, or your top can get fed. If you have a fed jungler who is, say, Jax, Olaf, Wukong, a more carry-type jungle, or Darius, and you get fed, you're going to do a lot of damage and wreck the mid-game, and most solo queue teams can't come back from you stomping early in mid-game. They usually start fighting, the team psyche is just bad at that point, and that's where a player like Sion comes in. I was talking to my friend, he went 4-0 in lane with Sion, he did really great, but he couldn't carry the game. The rest of his other two lanes lost. He was mid, and the reason you can't carry a Sion is you can blow up one guy. Well, if your team's not very good, yeah, you can ult. It gives them 50% lifesteal, but giving 50% lifesteal to a bad team isn't going to win a team fight. If you take someone who can wreck team fights and not just be out of his burst all of a sudden, like Cassiopeia or Ryze, you'll actually be able to carry more games with a Cass or a Ryze than you will as a Sion. But Sion stomps early. So what you need to do is stomp your lane, but that is not good enough. You have to stomp. Now you look, is top doing better or is bottom doing better? Okay, which one's doing better? You go to the one who's not, and you start ganking it. Every chance you get, you leave your lane. He's scared of you. You're 4-0. Now run up and kill their top laner, or go ward both blue and red buff because you're mid, and then try to attack them whenever they try to take an objective. Don't let them have any objective for free. That's the type of stuff that if you steal a blue buff or two or a red buff or two, they're going to start getting frustrated, blaming, pointing fingers, and your team will be ahead in the team psyche. So that is what I mean by when you're under 1200, 1600 elo, you can't play the champions that are great higher level. Like Nautilus is an awesome champion, but he relies on follow-up from his team to make all his crowd control do awesome. He does do a decent amount of damage, but I don't know that Nautilus is the carry you need. You need someone who can wreck people. Lee Sin's a better carry, for instance, because he just wrecks people early, and they get frustrated and don't know what to do. And you can run around to multiple lanes and just keep doing that. The new Kayle top thing that you're seeing, now all of a sudden you have a top, you can get fed, dominate your lane, and do a lot of damage. And that's kind of what I want to get into with the video series. If you see this and you want to comment on YouTube for me, let me know what you're interested in. I'll continue finishing off. Next week I'm going to finish my AD carries for, not necessarily forever, but for now I'll probably have 15-20 videos when I'm done with this set, and move on to mid laners, and then I'm going to move to the top laners, and then I'm going to move to the jungle. And I just want to have a basic element of all of it, and then I want to get into a specialty thing, either counter picking and show a bunch of counter games, like how does Olaf do against Malphite, what to do when you're Olaf versus Malphite. It's not enough to know who counters who, you have to know how to play it. How do I keep the pressure on and take advantage of me having a champion that does well against his champion? So that's the next phase of what I'm doing, because I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to go after I make these laning phase videos. And I could either turn around and do the end of the game videos, I could either take the same replays I have and show what happens afterwards, or I could take and start doing a specialty series like trading, burst combos. What champions are tier 1 at poking? Because some people just see a tier 1 champion, they want to play them, but what if you're really good at farming and poking, but you're not good at trading, jumping on them and trying to force trades? You're just good at poking and kiting. There are different champions that are more suited and better at different things. There's not just AD carry that is just the best AD carry. It's the best AD carry at bursting someone down, or the best anti-AD carry, or the best carry that is great at poking and kiting. And so what I want to do is make lists that show that, or I want to make videos on the mid game to the end game, how to finish games off, how to take advantage of your lead, what champions fall off and why, or what champions scale really well. Like you hear Kog'Maw does really great late game. Well, why and how do you get there? I could either do late, and I could maybe make tier lists on that, like who's a good late game champion, who stomps early, because you have different styles where you try to make them surrender in 20 minutes, or hey, let's just hold on, put it together, and just survive for 20-25 minutes till our champions are just huge. And so there's a different element when it comes to tier lists to me than just a tier list, because those tier lists don't fit all play styles, and they don't fit all elo levels. They don't fit. If you're only level 20 and really learning the game, some of the more advanced, hard-to-play champions may not be what you need. You might need an easier champion that's more of a pub stomper, and what can you do with them, and learn from there and then advance up. There's just different ways to go about it, and I think you could make tier lists not just as a solo queue, top, whatever, or competitive. I think there's tier lists for all sorts of reasons of what they're good at and what you want to accomplish, because it might be fun for you to run up a high kill score. Well, what champions are good at that? And what champions are good at working with their team? Are you a team player? Are you a farmer? What do you do? Are you a lane pusher, or do you want to be fighting them all day? And what runes are good for those things? Just let me know what you think, what you want to see, and I'll try to put together some videos according to what's wanted or needed out there right now. And I hope that my videos that I'm doing, I've remade the very basic ones. They were not very good at first, I'll admit that. They were okay. They were informative, but now I think I have a better system to it. It flows better. It's easier to watch. It makes its point a little better. And I hope that these are coming out across well and people like them. Anyhow, thanks for listening. I'll be back next week with another video log. Take care.